Meeting on the crossroads where the two forbidden subjects of politics and religion intersect. This is the Sophie Scholl Roundtable. Joining me again is Kurt Olson. Appreciate his insights when it comes to politics and faith. And one of those things that Christians are really going to bump up against is, what are we going to do with Donald Trump? How should we regard him as a candidate? I mean, for me personally, I'm biased, but I'm a Ron DeSantis.
I like Ron DeSantis too. I like him a lot. And let's just be clear about this. In the election that was just conducted on Tuesday evening, the one person who stood against COVID tyranny won in a stinking landslide. Because Greg Abbott in Texas, the other governors in the South and parts of the Midwest, that they finally decided DeSantis was onto something, and they followed him. The leader of the pack who stood alone, won in a landslide. Period.
Yeah, and I would give credit to Kemp too.
Yes,
because
Brian Kemp. I don't know what goes on the ground in Georgia, but Brian Kemp also took a stand fairly early, not as bold as DeSantis.
Yeah, right.
But he did take a stand in saying that they were going to open up, and everybody said that he was going to, hearken the apocalypse or whatever. And, those two guys took a stand.
Yeah.
They won.
Yeah. I find myself already grating when I hear words such as, if Ron DeSantis steps up and runs for office, bad things are going to come out about him. And this was said from the Trump allies or Trump campaign, or Trump himself. And I'm saying, why are you saying that? What's the point?
Let me reacquaint people with the 11th commandment from Ronald Reagan. Don't speak ill of another Republican. The last thing that should happen within a political party, if it's going to regard itself with any legitimacy, I get the whole fact that when things go south, finger pointing happens and all that other stuff. That's just human nature. But when the guy who is supposedly the head of the Republican Party in the United States of America conducts himself the way he has in the past week or so, just leading up to the election and even since, I get the fact that Donald Trump is a complete narcissist and he loves the attention on himself. I get that. Who in the Republican Party has the guts to go up to Donald J. Trump, look him in the eyes, sit him down and say, "Sir, it's time to move on. It's time to move on. We appreciate what you did for the country
for sure.
16
Absolutely.
and 20, but it is time to exit stage left.
Yep.
And it's time to let the Gen Xers take over."
Yeah. I was giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt, cutting him slack, but I'm sorry, just within the last couple weeks, I cannot.
Well, I've seen some numbers here just in the last 24 to day and a half following the election, and supposedly Trump had $100 million. He only spent $15 million of it to help Republicans. And it's probably because he doesn't know what's coming his legal way. He could be in heap big trouble with legal bills if Merrick Garland comes out with a lawsuit stemming from the Mar-a-Lago invasion. Let's call it what it was. It was an invasion. Some of the stuff in the state of New York that Tish James thinks she's got leverage on. I'm sure some of it has to do with, just financial survival, and I don't know what legal bills are going to be coming.
That's true.
But, for him to call DeSantis Ron DeSanctimonious was not helpful.
No.
It was not. It was not the language and the behavior of a man who's supposedly the top of the party.
Yeah, and when he's called a Christian by others, I'm saying it doesn't line up.
I mean, and yesterday he sent out something on social media comparing the votes he got in 20 compared to what DeSantis just got in his own state. And I'm like going, Mr. President, you do know that in a presidential election year, there tends to be greater turnout than in a midterm election. And the fact that Ron DeSantis got 4.6 million votes in Florida probably compares pretty comparably to the 5.7 that you got in the same state in 2020.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, I heard some information. This is more secondhand, but I know someone who's the head of polling the polling in the town of Harmony. He's a pastor out that way, and when people from the county were visiting all the sites on election day, they were saying midterm elections in Chautauqua County generates typically about 30% of the vote. We were at 50%.
Wow.
We were at 50% voter turnout in Chautauqua County with the midterm that just happened. And normal circumstances, a midterm election is 30%.
And that's with a Republican Party county-wise that seems to be rather disorganized.
I don't know much about the county
but anyway,
Republican Party.
But anyway, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it at that. But back to Trump here. I'm so with you when it comes to the overreach by government on Mar-a-Lago. I hope
absolutely.
that
I mean,
is exposed.
You know, for all of my issues with Donald Trump, I mean, the man is a walking unforced error. I mean, he just sends something on social media or says something. It's like, you know that's going to come back to bite you in the butt, right, dude? Seriously. For all of that happens, I mean, he's, Trump derangement syndrome is basically people inside the FBI in Washington, D.C. right now.
Yes.
And people in the mainstream media who just cannot get over the fact he is no longer president. And they still are just, democracy this, democracy that. It's like, seriously.
When, too, I think people need to take inventory of how many candidates he backed whiffed. Meaning he wanted Bolda, he whiffed. He wanted Mehmet Oz, whiffed.
Blake Masters might whiff yet.
I mean, I hope not. I hope Masters wins, but it could be another whiff.
One of Trump's allies, Peter Thiel, basically bankrolled J.D. Vance. I was looking at the early voting in Ohio. I know some people that follow that closely, and they're like, Vance might be in trouble. But he won by 7%. Tim Ryan is a longtime congressman from the city of Youngstown, Ohio. And a political neophyte basically kicked him to the curb. So, but, if we're looking ahead, seriously, can we get rid of the geriatrics? No offense to senior citizens. My mom's a senior citizen. I love my mother. I love other senior citizens in my church and elsewhere. But seriously, Joe Biden should not be a candidate in 2024. Right. Donald Trump should not be a candidate in 2024. And the people who are in either party that are latching onto them for with a death grip, seriously, wake up. Seriously, wake up. Come on.
I know. I wish people would see the entire picture. Meaning, okay, Trump may have a little more charisma than DeSantis, but I think DeSantis is a person who really has a grip on leadership that.
Here's an interesting thing. Ron DeSantis' wife, Casey. I haven't read a lot of stuff about her. For those who are familiar, she has come through, I believe, breast cancer. She's pushing her husband to run. And this is a guy that was in, what was it? I think it was the Navy. And he was part of JAG, the JAG. He was a lawyer.
Judge Advocate.
Judge Advocate General. Became a U.S. attorney, jumped into Congress, now governor. You know what? People can unturn stones with anyone. Okay? And if the Trump people are talking that way, as if Trump doesn't have his own skeletons. Come on. This is a guy that almost had to leave the campaign in 2016 because of something that was said on Inside Edition or whatever that TV show was on that hot mic.
Right.
And it's, politics is a nasty game. It really is. And I've had people say, "Oh, Kurt, you should get into politics." No, I'm not going to put my family through that. Sorry.
Yeah.
You lost me at run for office.
Maybe there is an advantage of being a bachelor in that situation. But anyways,
Exactly.
Maybe we should bring this edition to the Sophie Scholl Roundtable to a close today. Kurt, thank you so much again for being with me. But did you want to say a parting comment or two?
I would love to see a DeSantis, Tim Scott, DeSantis. Now, a lot of people would say, "Oh, that's not a very balanced ticket. They're both from the South." Some other people saying Kristi Noem, the governor up in South Dakota. I mean, I would go with anyone who was willing to look COVID tyranny straight in the eyes. And people, why are you still hanging on that? You have no idea how people were hurt. Kids have been impacted by this. My daughter just visited a college. I won't drop the name. She's looking at education, and this school had a preschool that they operate from their campus, and they're seeing their COVID babies for the first time. The babies that were born during COVID are now 3-year-olds in preschools. What are those people dealing with? I wonder. The kids that have been face masked, isolated, various other things for most of the last 2 or 3 years. The ramifications of COVID-19 are going to be felt for a long time to come. And my last shot is this. I hope Rand Paul becomes the chairman of that committee in the Senate.
Yes!
And there is an overturning of every stone. There is nothing that is left undone.
Yes, and maybe by the time this recording is aired, the Republicans will have a 51-49 advantage.
Exactly.
All right, with that being said, thank you for joining us here on the Sophie Scholl Roundtable.